Story 1. They depend on the gullibility, apathy, fear, and general discontent of a disengaged, exhausted, overworked, underpaid, and uninformed public seeking scapegoats instead of accountability. Story 2. They are the individuals who are most likely to ruthlessly seek power from the beginning. They are also the ones who most enjoy wielding it. Selfless, kind, and good individuals, on the other hand, find power to be a burden, an exhausting responsibility. Story 3. Because they exploit, manipulate, and surround themselves with loyal supporters while avoiding consequences, power reinforces itself. They know exactly how to navigate the system. Story 4. You need to understand how power works. Power is a pyramid. Nobody is just powerful by themselves, or at least not that powerful. When organized as a pyramid, power multiplies enormously. So, how do you get into that pyramid? There are some primordial scenarios. Typically, a lucky and powerful family, often polygamous, creates a gang, which, when established enough, evolves into a dynasty and a governmental structure. Anyway, that part doesn't really matter. Once the pyramid is in place, there is a selection process based on connections and leverage. When you are in that structure, you never want someone else in there who is a threat to you, so you ensure that nobody gets in under you unless they serve your aims and are compromised, allowing you to eliminate them when needed. This selection process eventually fills everyone in the pyramid with self-interested, ruthless, compromised, and therefore paranoid individuals. The best attempt at cleaning up the situation was democracy, but the same rules still apply. Since wealth is the primary source of power and is not subject to democratic forces, we end up with the shared fate of all liberal democracies. Oligarchy. Story 5. Because they appoint other greedy, terrible people to support their position. Some people just want to watch the world burn because they were picked last for kickball. Story 6. In the corporate world, it's often the case that above a certain level, individuals are beyond scrutiny. One can be genuinely ineffective in their role, yet the ambiguity surrounding performance leads to blaming the organization for any failures. Additionally, venture capital funding has effectively undermined authentic success or failure in the technology sector. When a company creates the next iPhone, it is often acquired by Apple before achieving success, with founders receiving $10 million for their efforts and a comfortable desk job. Conversely, if a company produces a product that is faulty, like a pin that catches fire, they may also be acquired by Apple. In this scenario, their venture capital investors receive double their initial investment, while the founders enjoy cozy desk jobs and payouts of $20 million. Story 7. I thought Rutger Bregman had an interesting opinion about that. In our modern democracy, shamelessness can be positively advantageous. Politicians who aren't hindered by shame are free to do things others wouldn't dare. Would you call yourself your country's most brilliant thinker or boast about your sexual prowess? Could you get caught in a lie and then tell another without missing a beat? Most people would be consumed by shame, just as most people leave that last cookie on the plate. But the shameless couldn't care less. Their audacious behavior pays dividends in our modern media landscapes because the news spotlights the abnormal and the absurd. In this type of world, it's not the friendliest and most empathetic leaders who rise to the top, but their opposites. In this world, it's survival of the shameless. He argues that shamelessness gives these individuals an advantage that can only function in a system like ours. It highlights the counterintuitive fact that people who seem unlikable still somehow convince others to elect them into power. Story 8. A combination of individuals using those qualities to their advantage, while the public remains unaware. Story 9. It is natural selection at work. Why do the individuals who behave poorly attract partners? The answer is the same. The truth is that if civilization were to collapse, kind individuals would have less chance of survival than those who are unkind. The world is not a fairy tale. The true nature of the world is brutal and ruthless. Story 10. CGP Grey's rules for rulers explain a lot. Story 11. They sell their soul for earthly riches, not realizing they cannot take anything but their soul with them when they leave this place. Do not be jealous of them. Story 12. It is essentially a combination of having so much money that they can pay off many influential individuals and engaging in power dynamics. It is ironic because many wealthy individuals have the capacity to change the world for the better, receiving significant praise in return. However, they choose to keep others suppressed due to outdated beliefs. Story 13. The only difference between me and a homeless person is this job. I will do whatever it takes to survive, just like I did when I was homeless. Story 14. Because the people over whom they wield such power are largely shielded from the self-serving theft being perpetrated against them under the guise of it being for their own protection. Story 15. Because they use that power to enrich themselves. This is what Elon is trying to stop. He is exposing how all these non-governmental organizations funnel money to politicians. Dogecoin will start to put an end to this. Story 16. Because the world is full of selfish and unkind people who favor selfish and unkind leaders. Like attracts like. Story 17. Greedy, terrible people sound like a movie title. Our system is built around competition, and those at the top prioritize winning above all else. The end justifies any means, including leveraging situations to compel others to look the other way or to reward complicity. They create a toxic environment that taints everything they touch to extract profit, justifying it as a legal obligation. The impact of white-collar crime makes street crime seem almost trivial. Welcome to the ruling class in a country of self-styled nobility projecting a facade of democracy. If you want to identify the real pirates, look no further than the secret society known as Skull and Bones. Its storied membership spans over a century, with a mission focused on the mutual enrichment of its members. Story 18. Because they are greedy and terrible people, they have the ambition to want more and have no qualms about doing whatever it takes to reach their goals, seizing any opportunity that presents itself. The selfless and kind individuals have limits on the actions they can take to rise in leadership and often defer opportunities to others. Story 19. The big lie is their path to fame and power. People seem to adore this self-abuse formula for a meaningful life. They appear to like the idea of their children living under a dictator and seem delighted to indoctrinate their innocent offspring into a life of servitude to those with wealth. Story 20. Because we think leaders are people who never compromise, never express doubt, never doubt themselves, never display real humility, and who never give us bad news. We believe that accepting accountability demonstrates weakness, while refusing to ever admit you were wrong projects strength. It is us. We choose and support these individuals repeatedly. It is us as voters, employees, and consumers. It is people who think leadership resembles being a football quarterback and not working in a soup kitchen. It is all of us and what we have been taught about what a leader looks, sounds, and acts like. As a result, our leaders are more likely to be dishonest and lacking in empathy than honest, humble, or accountable. We can choose better anytime we want, but we must understand that this will mean ignoring our instincts and past impressions of what leaders are, and instead selecting individuals who present, sound, and act very differently than what we are used to. Story 21. Because they find like-minded people to support them. As soon as you let a single negative influence rise to the top, you need to clean house to ensure that influence is removed. Story 22. My grandpa used to always say, weak people will always need someone to look down on, and unworthy people in power will always tell them they are right to do it. Story 23. The people who aren't those things receive what they need to live happily and then exit the system, also known as retiring. Story 24. Because we the people do not seem to have the courage and are willing to lie down and wait for someone else to come and save us. The individuals from January 6th had the courage but were completely wrong. Yet they remained committed to it. Story 25. Capitalism rewards psychopathy as long as it is for profit. Chief executive officers have a significantly higher rate of psychopathy compared to the norm, being 4 to 12 times more likely, according to research. Story 26. Those who hunger for power the most are often the least likely to deserve it and wield it responsibly. Story 27. The personality traits of individuals who attain power often include greed and negative behavior. One must possess these traits to desire power initially. These individuals manipulate the system to maintain their positions, rigging it to benefit those similar to themselves. It is not a coincidence that individuals placed in positions of power out of necessity, rather than those who pursue power as a career, tend to be better leaders. Douglas Adams articulated this well. One of the major problems, for there are several, one of the many major problems with governing people is that of whom you get to do it, or rather of who manages to get people to let them do it to them. To summarize, it is a well-known fact that those who want to rule are, by their very nature, the least suited for it. To summarize the summary, anyone who is capable of getting themselves made president should on no account be allowed to do the job. Douglas Adams, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Story 28. Because no one challenges them. Good people have limits to what they are willing to do while bad people do not. Story 29. In America, people watched Wall Street in the 1980s and fell in love with the antagonist. That is the type of person they value and elevate. Story 30. Well, to quote my father, things often appear better than they are. In reality, it is the illusion of power. Powerful individuals only wield the power that the people beneath them grant. The moment people realize this is the moment before that person loses their power. Story 31. All of you may not like my answer. I'm sure it will upset both sides of the debate and everyone in between. Story 32. Ford Prefect. They are obsessed. We are not. They win. Douglas Adams, Life, the Universe, and Everything. Story 33. I knew a man who shared that people don't become billionaires without engaging in unethical behavior and compromising their integrity. I agree with this perspective, especially when observing those at the top. Cutthroat and sociopathic behavior often receive the greatest rewards, along with deceitfulness. Story 34. Threats, violence, blackmail, and undesirable alliances can become self-reinforcing as criminals realize they are in trouble if they do not collaborate with others, even if they despise each other. Story 35. The answer lies in the question. They are greedy and terrible individuals, exhibiting at their core sociopathic, megalomaniacal narcissism. They epitomize the phrase, trample the weak and hurdle the dead. They possess no remorse, empathy, or sympathy for their harmful actions toward anyone. When faced with a decision, whether to exploit a situation for personal gain or to act with morality and decency, they consistently prioritize personal benefit over kindness, ethics, or the greater good. Furthermore, they justify their actions in their own minds, shifting the blame to others. Story 36. In my experience, the position of power usually means the person doesn't actually do much. Everyone else who doesn't have this magical power has to work, live, and perform all the actual tasks that keep the world moving, while these individuals often take credit for the efforts of others. Story 37. By misleading the financially struggling and impressionable individuals into believing that non-issues are real issues, and that their equally struggling neighbors desire their resources, they will be convinced that these resources will be offered if they succeed. Moreover, many Americans do not understand how politics operates and perceive it as a game, as depicted on television. They fail to recognize that their choices have real-world consequences, and they remain indifferent to this fact. Story 38. Because we incentivize the wrong things as a society, we do not properly discourage behaviors that are detrimental to us. We do this because we value comfort above all else, and most of us believe we will be the last crab out of the bucket. Story 39. Because that is what society expects from people. I was just thinking that it is true that no good deed goes unpunished. It encourages others to take advantage of you and perceive you as a pushover. I feel myself becoming an unkind person after being kind for my first 50 years on this planet. It is sad. Story 40. Probably by being greedy and terrible. Most people are good-natured and possess qualities like empathy and a moral compass. If you lack these traits, you can take advantage of most people and do very well for yourself. Individuals like this are likely to have what appears to be a hollow and meaningless life. From the perspective of someone like this, most people would see expressions of contempt and derision directed at them by almost everyone they interact with. They will likely also witness a great deal of conflict and misery that they cause, along with fawning and sycophancy. Essentially, it would be perceived as a joyless and miserable existence for most people, But that doesn't faze terrible individuals because they are often incapable of feeling these emotions. If you ever feel anger or a sense of injustice, remember that the world is currently difficult for many. It is rapidly getting worse. Those at the top are standing proudly on a pile of turmoil. There's nothing aspirational about it. You wouldn't want to be up there. They have climbed to the top not by becoming beacons of humanity or exemplars of ethics and innovation. They have not risen above anything. They have systematically pushed everyone else down. They are at the top because they have torn better individuals down and clambered over the crumbling rubble and decay. They are the kings and queens of nothing but despair. Story 41. Decent people are unable to predict the actions of someone who lacks conscience or empathy. As a result, they are unprepared and unwilling to mount the necessary defense until it is almost too late. Story 42. 2 reasons. 1. They prioritize maintaining their power or elevating themselves over helping others. Survivorship bias ensures that only those who are most skilled at advancing through the ranks succeed, while individuals who do not navigate the system effectively do not progress, leading to a tendency for those in power to be generally more competent than the average person. Story 43. The same way a swimmer trains every day to achieve their dreams, a politician spends each day of their lives seeking power, and unfortunately for us, they have become quite skilled at it. Story 44. It is a multifaceted problem. Some of those aspects may be that such individuals do not care who they hurt to achieve their goals. Story 45. Money is a desire for many people. Consider this. If a man learns that his child could have the best future imaginable, he might be driven to extreme actions, even considering harming those around him. Story 46. Because the benefits they provide in return for being selfish and inadequate justify the cost. Story 47. I was involved in a project that included several directors of government departments. At that level, there is not a clear answer regarding what should be done. It becomes a battle of personalities. The individual who convinces others to follow their lead assigns tasks to everyone else and receives more credit if the project is successful. In that situation, who is more likely to succeed? The person who can influence others effectively. This is an arena where manipulative individuals have a significant advantage, so once they are in that position, they tend to remain there. The profession that teaches the skills needed in these scenarios is law. People often dislike being lawyers because they are constantly engaged in competitive situations. However, those who remain in the field understand how to navigate boardroom dynamics effectively. Story 48. Because millions of American voters admire greedy, terrible people and want to be like them someday. Story 49. They dismiss those who object to them, surround themselves with agreeable individuals, and associate with people similar to themselves. This is how Trump operates. Story 50. Because the system is not designed to reward the most capable individuals, it is structured to reward those who understand how to navigate the system. They remain in positions by networking, controlling narratives, shifting blame, and ensuring they are indispensable. Morality is not a prerequisite for power. Strategy is. Story 51. If you deliver your outcomes, many employers will overlook poor behavior. Personally, I will not. I have fired a few high-performing individuals. Story 52. One of the major issues with police officers is that they typically do not report or punish their colleagues when they engage in misconduct, as they are often friends. This could be one reason why some individuals in leadership positions do not get fired after failures. Personal connections protect them from facing consequences. Story 53. There's a field of study that researches this question called ponerology. Story 54. Good people leave toxic environments, or they stay long enough in the system and become villains themselves. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.